Imagine this. A woman's torso rips away from her legs. Her insides dangling as huge, bat-like wings tear through the skin on her back. She takes to the night sky, a horrifying silhouette against the moon, hunting for the unborn. This is the Manananggal of the Philippines. It's a story told to keep people safely inside after dark. They say every culture has its own boogeyman. But what if they're all connected? What if the same nightmares are being told in different languages all over the world, echoing the same deep fears that have haunted us since we first gathered around a fire? Today, we're not just telling scary stories. We're going on a global tour of the most terrifying urban legends ever whispered. We'll trace their twisted roots from the sun-scorched plains of Mexico to the misty shores of England, from the outback of Australia to the ancient forests of North America. We're going to uncover the nightmarish origins of these tales and separate the bizarre truths from the terrifying fiction. So lock your doors, turn down the lights, and join us as we unmask the monsters that live in the shadows of our world. Our journey starts in Latin America, with a sound that has terrified generations. The mournful cry of a woman carried on the night wind. It's the sound of La Llorona, the weeping woman. Countless people, from the riverbanks of Mexico to the southwestern United States, claim to have heard her cries or seen her ghostly, white-clad figure drifting near the water's edge, forever searching for the children she's damned to never find. The most common version of the legend tells of a beautiful but poor woman named Maria. She falls in love with a wealthy nobleman who is charmed by her beauty. They marry and have 2 beautiful children. For a while, they're happy. But the nobleman eventually grows tired of Maria. He leaves her for a woman of his own wealthy class. And even though he still visits his children, he pays Maria no mind. One day, Maria sees him in a carriage with his new bride, and he stops to kiss and speak to his children, but ignores her completely. This final, cruel rejection sends her into a blind rage. In a fit of jealous fury, she grabs her 2 young sons, drags them to the river, and drowns them. The moment the water stills, the horror of what she's done crashes down upon her. Consumed by a guilt so profound, she throws herself into the river after them, but her spirit finds no rest. When she reaches the gates of the afterlife, she is asked, "Where are your children?" Unable to answer, she's barred from entry and condemned to wander the earth for all eternity, searching the rivers, lakes, and streams for their lost souls. Her endless, agonizing cry, "Ay, mis hijos, oh, my children," is said to be a death omen. Those who hear her are marked for misfortune, and it's a terrifying warning to children everywhere not to wander out after dark, lest La Llorona mistake them for her own and drag them to a watery grave. This story feels timeless, but its roots are a complex tapestry of history, myth, and conquest. Some historians identify La Llorona with ancient Aztec goddesses like Coatlicue, the mother of the gods. A chillingly similar account was documented by a Franciscan friar named Bernardino de Sahagún around the 1550s. He recorded the testimony of Nahuatl speakers who described one of the 8 bad omens that foretold the fall of the Aztec Empire. 10 years before the Spanish arrived, a ghostly woman was heard weeping in the streets of the capital, Tenochtitlan, crying out, "My children, we must flee." Other versions tie the legend directly to a historical figure, La Malinche, the enslaved indigenous woman who acted as interpreter and consort to the conquistador Hernán Cortés. In this telling, she's seen as a betrayer of her people who, after being abandoned by Cortés, kills their children. This version frames her not just as a figure of sorrow, but of profound historical trauma. Over time, these threads, the ancient Aztec omen, the historical trauma of La Malinche, and European folktales of phantom women, all intertwined, weaving together into the singular, terrifying figure we know today. La Llorona is more than just a ghost story. She is a symbol of motherhood, loss, betrayal, and the enduring grief of a nation's history. Our tour now takes us to the windswept coastline and misty marshlands of East Anglia in England. For centuries, the people of Suffolk and Norfolk have whispered tales of a spectral beast that roams the countryside. A harbinger of death with eyes of fire, they call it Black Shuck. The name Shuck is thought to come from the Old English word skuka, meaning devil or fiend. Descriptions of the creature vary. It's most often described as a massive black dog, as large as a calf or even a horse, with shaggy fur and malevolent glowing red eyes the size of saucers. It sometimes appears headless or floats silently on a carpet of mist, its paws making no sound as it pads along lonely country lanes and ancient graveyards. To see Black Shuck once is an omen that a member of your family will die within the year. To look directly into its fiery eyes means your own death is imminent. While sightings have been reported for hundreds of years, the most famous and chillingly specific account of Black Shuck's fury comes from a single day. August 4th, 1577. On that day, a terrifying thunderstorm raged across the region. The congregation of St. Mary's Church in the town of Bungay huddled together, praying as the storm battered the walls. Suddenly, with a massive crash of thunder, the church doors burst open. A monstrous black hound stormed into the church. Its eyes glowing like burning coals, it ran right through the horrified crowd and killed a man and a boy before disappearing as suddenly as it arrived. The whole event was documented in a pamphlet that same year by the Reverend Abraham Fleming. But the Hellhound's work wasn't done. That same day, 12 miles away in the village of Blytheburg, the same spectral beast appeared. As thunder cracked, Black Shuck smashed through the doors of the Holy Trinity Church. It rampaged through the church, killing 2 more people and causing the church steeple to collapse. As it fled, the beast was said to have clawed at the north door, leaving deep black scorch marks burned into the wood. To this day, you can visit the church in Blytheburg and see what the locals call the devil's fingerprints, a physical scar left by a supernatural event. The origins of Black Shuck are likely rooted in Norse and Germanic mythology, but the 1577 event might have a natural explanation. The collapse of the Blytheburg steeple was likely caused by a lightning strike, and the story of a demonic dog could have been a way for people to explain a terrifying act of nature in an age of superstition. It might have even been propaganda during the English Reformation, framing the event as the devil's work. Whatever its true origin, Black Shuck remains one of England's most enduring legends, a phantom forever haunting the dark roads of the coast. We now venture to the Philippines, home to a creature so grotesquely unique, it makes a vampire seem tame. This is the Manananggal, a name that strikes a primal fear into the hearts of many Filipinos. The word itself comes from the Tagalog word tanggal, meaning to remove or to separate. And that is exactly what it does. By day, the Manananggal appears as a normal human, often a beautiful, solitary woman living on the outskirts of a village. But when darkness falls, a hideous transformation happens with an audible ripping sound. Her upper torso violently detaches from her lower body. Her entrails hang gruesomely from her severed waist as enormous, leathery, bat-like wings sprout from her back. Leaving her legs standing motionless, her top half takes flight, soaring through the night in search of prey. The Manananggal is a type of aswang, a broader category for ghouls, vampires, and witches in Filipino folklore. While it will feed on any sleeping person, it has a horrifying preference: pregnant women. The creature lands silently on a roof and uses its long, proboscis-like tongue to extend down through a crack, entering the woman's navel to suck out the heart of the developing fetus. Its presence is sometimes signaled by the sound of a bird called a tick-tick. The bird's call is a terrifying misdirection. The louder the sound, the farther away the Manananggal is. If the call grows faint, the monster is right on top of you. Defeating a Manananggal means exploiting its one great vulnerability: its severed lower half. While the top half is airborne, the legs remain defenseless. If you can find the lower torso, you must sprinkle salt, crushed garlic, or ash onto the exposed flesh. This prevents the two halves from rejoining. If the Manananggal can't reunite with its lower body before sunrise, the daylight will destroy it. While the Manananggal is typically female, some scholars suggest the legend is a reflection of patriarchal anxieties about female power. A more political theory traces this to the Spanish colonization of the Philippines before Spanish rule. Women held powerful roles as shamans and spiritual leaders known as babaylan. This theory suggests that Spanish colonizers, seeking to impose a patriarchal Christian ideology, demonized these powerful women, transforming the respected female shaman into a monstrous, fetus-eating creature. The Manananggal is therefore not just a monster, but a powerful symbol of cultural clash and suppressed history. We've traveled from Mexico to Japan, England to the Philippines, and we're just getting started. Each of these nightmares tells us something unique about the culture that birthed it. Which one has gotten under your skin the most so far? The grieving mother, the vain spirit, the demonic dog, or the self-segmenting vampire? Let us know in the comments. Now hold on tight, because our next stop takes us into the frozen heart of North American forests, to meet a creature born of starvation and madness. We now journey to the vast, cold forests of North America, the traditional lands of the Algonquian-speaking peoples. Here, in the brutal cold of winter when food is scarce, an ancient and terrible spirit is said to awaken. It's not a monster you can fight with a weapon, but a spirit of excess that can possess the human heart. It is the Wendigo. The Wendigo isn't a creature in the traditional sense. It's the embodiment of gluttony, greed, and most terrifyingly, cannibalism. According to Algonquian folklore, a human can become a Wendigo in several ways. The most common is by resorting to eating human flesh to survive a harsh winter. That first forbidden act corrupts the soul, transforming the person into a gaunt, monstrous being driven by an insatiable hunger for more. Descriptions of the creature are consistently horrifying. It's said to be a towering, emaciated giant, sometimes over 15 feet tall. Its skin is sallow and stretched tight over its bones, and its eyes are pushed back deep into their sockets. One of its most disturbing features is that it grows in size in proportion to the meal it has just eaten, so it can never be full. It is a being of eternal, agonizing starvation. Its presence is often marked by an unnatural chill or a foul stench of decay. The legend of the Wendigo served as a powerful taboo against both cannibalism and greed. In a society that depended on sharing resources to survive brutal winters, the Wendigo was the ultimate symbol of selfishness. The concept became so ingrained that Wendigo psychosis was a term used to describe a culture-bound syndrome where a person would develop an intense craving for human flesh and a fear of becoming a cannibal. One of the most infamous real-life cases is that of Swift Runner, a Cree trapper, in 1879. During a harsh winter, he was stranded with his wife and 6 children. When he finally emerged from the wilderness alone, he claimed his family had starved. The horrifying truth was that he had killed and eaten them all, despite being near an emergency food supply. At his trial, Swift Runner insisted he had been possessed by the spirit of a Wendigo. He was found guilty and executed, but his case remains a chilling example of the legend bleeding into grim reality. In modern pop culture, the Wendigo is often shown with antlers or a deer-like head. This imagery is a far cry from the original indigenous narratives. This modern depiction turns a complex symbol of human moral failing into a generic woodland monster. The true horror of the Wendigo isn't a beast in the woods, but the monster that can awaken within a human heart when pushed to the absolute limits of desperation. Our next destination is Puerto Rico, birthplace of one of the most famous cryptids of the late 20th century. Its name is whispered across Latin America, and it translates literally to the goat sucker, El Chupacabra. The legend exploded into public consciousness in 1995. Farmers in Puerto Rico began finding their livestock, goats, sheep, chickens, dead under mysterious circumstances. The animals weren't eaten. Instead, they were found with strange puncture wounds on their necks or chests, and they appeared to be completely drained of blood. Panic spread across the island. What could do this? In August of 1995, the first major eyewitness came forward. A woman named Madeline Tolentino in the town of Canovanas gave a vivid description of the creature she claimed to have seen. She described a bipedal creature, about 3 to 4 feet tall, with large, alien-like black or red eyes, grayish-green skin, and a row of sharp spines running down its back. A sketch based on her description was published, and that image quickly became the face of the Chupacabra. Soon, reports of similar animal deaths and sightings poured in from other countries, including Mexico, Brazil, and the United States. For years, the mystery captivated paranormal investigators, but the truth behind the original sighting may be far more mundane. Enter skeptical investigator Benjamin Radford, who conducted a 5-year investigation into the phenomenon. He noticed that Tolentino's description bore a striking resemblance to a creature from a science fiction horror film released just months before her sighting, the 1995 movie Species. The alien-human hybrid in the film, named Syl, was a bipedal creature with sharp spines on its back, nearly identical to Tolentino's description. When Radford interviewed Tolentino, he asked if she had seen the film. She confirmed she had, just a few weeks before her sighting. Radford concluded that her memory of the film monster had likely influenced what she thought she saw, making her eyewitness account, the very foundation of the Chupacabra legend, completely unreliable. As for the blood-drained livestock, necropsies were never performed on the initial victims, so the claim they were drained of blood was never scientifically confirmed. In the years since, nearly every Chupacabra body that has been found and tested has turned out to be something far more ordinary. Coyotes, dogs, or raccoons suffering from severe mange. This skin disease causes animals to lose their fur and their skin to become thick and leathery, giving them a bizarre appearance. These sick predators would be more likely to attack easy prey like goats. The Chupacabra wasn't a new monster. It was a new name for sick and dying animals at the edge of our world, their disturbing appearance fueling a brand new legend. From the Americas, we fly to the other side of the world, to the sunburnt continent of Australia. Here, in the billabongs, swamps, and riverbeds of the vast outback, Aboriginal folklore speaks of a creature that lurks beneath the water's surface. It's a being of many forms and many names, but it is most widely known as the Bunyip. The word Bunyip is often translated today as devil or evil spirit. It has been a part of the oral traditions of numerous Aboriginal groups for thousands of years. But here's the thing. Nobody can agree on what a Bunyip actually looks like. Accounts vary wildly. Some stories describe a creature with a dog-like face and a horse-like tail. Others say it's covered in fur or feathers, with flippers and small tusks. It's been compared to everything from a giant snake to something vaguely human. The one consistent element is its association with water and its terrifying booming call that echoes through the wetlands at night. The Bunyip's role in mythology is also complex. In many stories, it's a predator that devours anyone, particularly women and children, who strays too close to its watery home. The stories serve as a practical warning to keep kids away from the very real danger of drowning. But in other traditions, the Bunyip is a punisher. In some dreaming stories, the creature was a water spirit that would attack anyone who took more than their fair share of fish or broke other tribal laws. Here, the Bunyip acts as a spiritual enforcer, a reminder to respect the land. When European settlers arrived, they were fascinated by the tales. Unfamiliar with the continent's unique fauna, many believed the Bunyip was a real, undiscovered animal. Bunyip skulls were put on display in the 19th century, drawing huge crowds, though they were later identified as the deformed remains of calves or foals. So where did the myth come from? One popular idea is that the legend is a cultural memory of Australia's extinct megafauna, which lived alongside the first humans thousands of years ago. Creatures like the Diprotodon, a giant, rhinoceros-sized wombat, could have inspired the stories. Another theory suggests the Bunyip could be misidentified seals, which have been known to travel far up Australia's river systems. Their barking call and sleek appearance in the water could easily be mistaken for a monster. Whatever its origin, the Bunyip remains one of Australia's most iconic and mysterious legends. Our journey now leads us north, to the cold, clear waters of Scandinavia. In the dark ponds and tranquil lakes of Norway, Sweden, and beyond, a sinister spirit is said to dwell. It's a being of deadly beauty and enchanting music, known as the Nøkken. The Nøkken is a shape-shifting male water spirit, with first mentions dating back to the Viking Age. It can appear in many forms, adapting its disguise to best lure its victim into the water. To entice young women, it often takes the shape of a handsome man, playing a fiddle or harp by the water's edge. His music is so beautiful, it can put listeners into a trance, compelling them to walk toward the sound and into the water, where he drags them down to their death. To lure children, the Nøkken will often transform into a stunning white horse. Kids, enchanted by the beautiful animal, climb onto its back, only for the horse to immediately dive into the lake, drowning them. The Nøkken can also appear as a floating log or a monstrous creature made of seaweed with glowing yellow eyes. Water lilies are said to be his garden, and they are sometimes called nøkkeros or nixie roses in Norwegian. Anyone foolish enough to pick them will anger him, and he will surely pull them under. But the Nøkken isn't always purely evil. In some stories, he's portrayed as a tragic, lonely figure who laments his inability to find salvation. His screams from the water are sometimes not a threat, but a warning of an impending tragedy. He is a creature of duality, representing both the treacherous danger of the water and its haunting beauty. The Nøkken is also known as a master musician. Ambitious fiddle players would sometimes seek him out, bringing an offering like a black animal or some brandy to his lake. If he accepted, he might teach them his skills, granting them the ability to play so masterfully that the very trees would dance. But a deal with the Nøkken was always a dangerous game, as the student could easily become the teacher's next victim. Like many water spirits, the Nøkken likely began as a way to personify the dangers of drowning, a story far more memorable than a simple command to be careful near the water. For our final legend, we step away from creatures of the natural world and into the realm of human souls. In Jewish folklore, there's a belief in a form of spirit possession that is deeply personal and terrifying. It is not a demon in the classic sense, but the dislocated soul of a dead person. It is the Dybbuk. The word Dybbuk comes from the Hebrew verb meaning to adhere or to cling. And that's what this spirit does. A Dybbuk is believed to be the soul of a sinner, someone whose transgressions were so great, their soul cannot move on. Denied rest, this denuded spirit wanders the earth, desperately seeking a living body to cling to in order to accomplish some unfulfilled goal or just to escape its torment. The term Dybbuk first appeared in writings in the 16th century, growing out of the mystical, Kabbalistic teachings of scholars like Isaac Luria. According to these beliefs, a Dybbuk possession was different from demonic possession because the possessing entity was fundamentally human. The Dybbuk speaks through its host's mouth, often in the voice it had in life, suppressing the host's own personality. Traditionally, the spirit was almost always male, while the victim was a young woman, often on the eve of her wedding. This has led scholars to suggest the Dybbuk story may have served as a socially acceptable outlet for women in a patriarchal society to express forbidden thoughts or psychological distress. A woman suffering from anxiety or opposing an arranged marriage could have her feelings voiced by the Dybbuk without being held responsible. Exorcising a Dybbuk was a community ritual performed by a rabbi, aimed not at destroying the spirit, but at convincing it to depart. The rabbi would command the spirit to state its name and purpose, and then help it find peace. The concept was largely confined to mystical circles until S. Ansky's 1920 play, The Dybbuk, brought the idea to a global audience. In recent years, the term has been corrupted by a modern internet hoax, the Dybbuk box. In 2003, a man named Kevin Manis posted a story on eBay about an old wine cabinet he claimed was haunted. The story went viral and inspired a horror movie. Manis later admitted in 2021 that he had fabricated the entire thing to be a real-time horror story. The true Dybbuk isn't a demon in a box. It's a far more tragic figure, a lost human soul, a symbol of unfinished business, clinging to life because it has nowhere else to go. From the wailing phantom of La Llorona to the clinging soul of the Dybbuk, our global tour of legends has shown us one profound truth. While our cultures and languages differ, our nightmares are strikingly similar. We fear the loss of our children, the stranger in the dark, the consequences of our own greed, and the untamed forces of nature. These stories are more than just campfire tales. They are cautionary warnings, reflections of our deepest anxieties, and cultural fingerprints left by history. They are the maps of our fears. But there are so many more stories out there. Every town has its own ghosts that walk the lonely roads at night. What about you? What's the most famous urban legend from your region? What are the stories that the locals swear are true? Share them in the comments below. We want to hear the tales that haunt your corner of the world. If you enjoyed this journey into the dark, make sure to subscribe to Horror Across Borders and turn on notifications for more deep dives into the world's most terrifying folklore. And if you're brave enough, click here to watch another of our explorations into the unknown. Until next time. Try not to think too much about what might be lurking just outside your window.